Hello, everyone. Welcome to Turn the Page. And I have, this is October 19th, 2022. And I have the one, the only Gene Decode with us. And he has got some current updates and just information to share with us. And it's so exciting to have him on. And I'm so honored as usual. Gene, how are you?
I'm doing really good. Busy as crazy busy. I mean, but it always makes me remember back when I was young and I get bored. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm so bored. I'm like, give me 5 of those minutes. That's what you do. Get younger me. It's like I don't even know what to get to do. Wash dishes. It's like I don't have time right now. I got to go do this. I got to go do that. I'm like, oh my god, crazy
I'm the
busy.
same way. It's like I'm actually forgetting to eat, which is really bad. And I was just thinking of that. You're supposed to have 3 square meals, so they say. But if I grab a handful of like trail mix or something, or just something to drink, I'm good. But I'm not losing the weight. What the heck?
If you need to lose weight, what actually did help me, this is just something I did actually originally because of Magellan's a year ago. Now that's gone. But every time I go out, like earlier today, I had to run errands and I went all the way downtown and back in a little over an hour to 2 stores. I'm like, wow, I'm cooking. So thank you, God, for getting all the lights green and everybody, hardly anybody on the highway. It's awesome. Zoom. But the shedding, you get in these stores and I get literally, I carry a bottle of Everclear and my wife made little gel of Everclear and put them in like, containers about the size, squeeze containers about the size of a lipstick balm, that and the chlor gel, natural chlor gel from KV Labs that I get. And then she put that in little big bottles I use at home, but I had little ones I take out. And when I put that on my, where it hurts, because they literally, I'm like a jab detector where, oh, 4 Pfizer's. So, and one Moderna. I can actually tell. It's like, ow, 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 or from 30 feet away. Oh my gosh, that hurts. Well, that's everything has been Pfizer. You've gotten everything, all the boosters, everything. And I'll
Hey,
go
Gene,
in the car.
let me ask you a question on that when you're feeling that. So, I'm very sensitive to energy and stuff like that too. But if you're walking and all of a sudden you just get like a ping or something, is that it? Because I get those when I'm in Walmart.
Yeah, that's it. And then I put those gels, I carry the little ones in my pocket and I put them on and it disintegrates them in your body. Then it pushes the needle back out. It's literally like you broke off an acupuncture needle, the tip of one, and you got about a 16th of an inch long piece of metal coming out of your neck. But it's not like stainless steel silver. It's like rusted stainless steel silver. It's rusty looking and it comes out of my neck. My wife didn't
Ah,
originally believe me. And I go, look at this. She goes, oh my goodness. I go, yeah, it hurts. She goes, I can see that would hurt. So, but what actually helps also, I do before I go out and when I got back, and it actually caused me to lose 20 pounds because your thyroid requires iodine. And
yeah.
so I had gotten the same thing. I got over 200 pounds. I'm like, oh my, because I couldn't work out because of the shingles. I was in such terrible health and I dislocated my shoulder and I can't do anything anymore. It's like I'm just, losing muscle mass, but gaining weight, gaining weight, gaining weight. And I got a nice person sent me um, what's called Magellan's Direct SSKI. And what it is a potassium iodide crystal packet you get and a little kit to make it into a saturated solution, which they say super saturated. You can make it super saturated. I boil water to do it. And then I pour one bowl with boiling water and I put um, take a syringe, put the crystals in another clear glass bowl and I put the crystals in there and I take their syringe and I put the cc's you need. I think it's 40 if I remember right, and I squeeze that in. And because I'm at a higher altitude, it takes a little bit more because it's boiling. If you were to let it slowly cool down and put it in the bottle, you would have SSKI super saturated. So then I put that in a little bottle with the label they give, and I take drops, like 9 drops or 8 drops, depending on how long I'm going to be out. Before I go out, I've learned you have to have food in your stomach or you're going to get really sick. But then when I get back, I take another 8 or so. I do total. You build up. You got to build up to it. I build up slow. There's a guy called No Cats on YouTube that tells how to do this, and he got over it.
What is his name?
I think he calls himself No Cats. Like, I don't like cats, no cats.
Oh,
No
okay.
cats here. And he kind of tells how to mix it up. And it took him a year to get over the Morgellons. And he doesn't believe what I know to be true is that it's AI and that it's a hybrid creation of insect and graphene, the black goo, but graphene oxide's black goo at a lower level of assembly. And then if it's around 5G, it assembles. And that's been proven by many, many people now. And then the alcohol breaks it down, and you can remove it if you don't get around 5G again. It'll reassemble if it gets hydrated again. So like if somebody comes in my home that's jabbed, I'll spray it down, the carpets down, and then immediately open all the windows and doors and blow it out and have fans and blow it out and then shut everything back up and turn the heat back up and bring the heat back up in the house and everything's culture. But if it's just, make sure it's away from 5G, but 5G will make it reassemble if it's hydrated. So what the SSKI, which is potassium iodide, that crystal, your body, nation iodine or Lugol's, your body can't use elemental iodine. You need to have it chelated or as a chemical. So because chelated means bonded to an amino acid, which is what you're made of, 64 different amino acids. You only use 4 of those if you're 2-stranded genetics for carriers in your genetic. That's why they have the only 4 letters for the different genetic carriers. You actually have a total of 64. Humans originally used all 64, and they had 64 strands too. But now that we're down to 2, you use 4. So what the SSKI does is the potassium iodide, when it gets in your body, there's a chemical bond, an ion bond between the potassium and the iodine. So when your body breaks that, that's a charge that it can use to attach the potassium to an amino acid and the iodine to an amino acid. So your body can use that to chelate them. And so then it's readily available. Your body needs potassium. Whenever you use a muscle, the way it contracts is you have like a little barrel in the cell that gets a messenger RNA comes in and says, excrete some calcium. The calcium causes the muscle cell to contract. Then there's another barrel and it says, okay, we're done being contracted. The only way it can release is to flood that out. So the potassium floods that out. And that's why if you don't get enough potassium, you get a cramps, because calcium tightens the muscle cell and nothing loosens it if you don't have enough potassium. So you just get, everything starts knotting up. So the potassium is very important for that and other bodily functions. The iodine is extremely important for the hypothalamus and the thalamus. So it is what sets all your hormones and all of your immune system and endocrine system, and helps your metabolism as well. So as we get older, we stop making as much of those different hormones, and your metabolism starts to drop as well. So the iodine will vastly help that as well. And that's why you want to build up slowly. And if you're exposed to shedders, I've worked up from 3 drops a day, doing 1 3 times a day, to finally doing 25 total a day. And I just do it all the time because I'm constantly beleaguered with shedders. It's almost every day. They're like, yeah, so I just do it and I lost 20 pounds in the first 2 months using it. Yeah. So because my metabolism was down. So
my metabolism down, and I've been fighting different doctors on thyroid medicine and finally found, Gene, believe it or not, I've been praying and praying. We got a doctor in the area here who saw the light through all this stuff. And he up and left his practice. I won't say anything more than that, but just decided that he doesn't want to be affiliated to any particular hospital. You pick and choose. It's almost as if you go to him and you tell him what's best, and he's doing the somewhat mainstream medical stuff up until a point, and then he recommends supplements for a lot of different things. He's helped me just bring down my blood pressure without a chemical.
Yeah. So for me, because of having Morgellons, some of the signatures of that is you get very low blood pressure and low body temperature. And I always, because for the first 18 years of my military career, I got jabbed every 6 months. And they've had this stuff in there forever. It's been in there forever. All this goo stuff is in there. And so I didn't realize I was getting Morgellons. And when my last tour of duty was in Hawaii, and in the morning when I go into work, I get off, I worked on Fort Island. And at that time you had to take a ferry or a small boat, and I'd be wearing a down jacket. And I'd walk to work in a down jacket, my uniform. They go, aren't you hot? No, I'm freezing. I go, it's like 70 degrees out here. Go, yeah, it's warm. I go, no. When do you get warm? When it gets up to 80, 85? Then it's nice. I'll take this off. Then I just, something light. So they're like, what's wrong with you? And yeah, I thought I'm just in such good shape, right? That my blood pressure and my body temperature is low. Turns out, no. Yeah, I was in great shape, but turns out no. When you get to 94.7, if you look, Klaus Fala talks about this, you're full blown Morgellons. They have wiped out your immune system. And so that's why I kept started getting sick all the time. And so, Morgellons Direct combined with the stuff from Jim Humble wiped it out. So
yeah, I subscribe to Jim Humble's information, and you have to read it very thoroughly or find somebody who can work with you on a protocol. I overdid it. I overdid it and was in the bathroom for a couple of days.
I used it like massively because I was actually dying. It saved my life. Doctor told me I had a week to live. This was back in what was this? 2008. Said make your final affairs, say your goodbyes. There's nothing anybody can do. I mean, I've sent your blood work and all your lab results all over the world. You've got like 875 parasites and things nobody's seen that don't exist on Earth. They have genetics that no one's ever seen on Earth. Yeah, because I got attacked by Borgia, but people don't believe in that. Okay, well, I do. It looked like a beetle, 5'5" in every direction. But I don't not. My doctor was like, I don't know what happened to you, and so I found out about that, and within a week of doing Jim Humble's, but I did it massive. I went way up because it was that or done. And so within a week, I was over everything, but I went massive on it. Most people couldn't do what I did.
Yeah.
I walked it up to where I was doing 45 drops a day.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So, and now I can't go over 3 drops at a time. I was doing, 15 drop doses for 3 hours, and then I would walk it down. I mean, 45 drops a day at the high dosage. Then I'd walk it down. So I was probably doing 100, 200 drops, because I get up, I feel so bad every morning when I could hardly sleep. I was coughing up blood and lung, and it saved my life. But Andreas Kalker has a really excellent book on how to use it. I think it's something like Forbidden Health or something like that. Andreas Kalker's Andreas Kalker's Kalcker. And then Genesis 2 Church, the guys got put in jail in Colombia. They're going all over the world, getting people healthy, even from 19. When I got 19, I went home. I felt like I had a metal band on my chest. I went home and did 3 drops every 15 minutes in 2 hours. I was fine. Like, okay, that's great. So, and then of course, Jim Humble's book is Master Mineral Solution for the 21st century, I think is the name of the book. But I'm not a doctor or anything, but like your doctor, I've seen so many abominations by Western medical And my first martial arts instructor back in the 70s, when I started martial arts, said that what I'm going to teach you, take people apart. So you're going to have to know how to put them together too. So he taught me massive amounts of how to heal and even reset bones and bone massage to where you can heal from a broken bone in 48 hours and all kinds of things. So
That's
I
great.
learned, yeah. And then I went to Sri Lanka and studied natural medicine, and I, started that in 1997, and just really delved into it. And then I came back to the States, and I studied from medicine men and women in the US, Native Americans. So, I know the different herbs when I'm up hiking in a survival situation or something. Like willow is, got more salicylic acid by far than aspirin, which came from an aspen tree.
Hey, Gene, don't you think that they need to start to teach the kids all this in school instead of the crap that they're teaching them? It's teach spirituality, teach about Mother Earth, and just go back to what everybody knew 300 years ago, right?
Yeah, the deep state cabal, doesn't want you even talking about this stuff. You can't even supposedly tell people what you do. Yeah, you can. I have freedom of speech. I'm not saying do this. I'm saying this is what I do. You do what you want to do. I'm not making recommendations. I'm saying what people ask me, what did you do? That's what I do. And you can buy it and use it. So I'm gonna have like Wednesday, or is it Wednesday? No, it's tomorrow, 2:00, Health Side Chat on my deep dives on my website, genedecode.org. And we're just going to talk about how I cleanse my body every 3 weeks and 4 days, because that's prior to the hatch out time. If you're getting exposed to shutters and it creates all that Magellan's garbage inside you, they take 28 days. So if you do 3 weeks and 4 days, they've started to have to do all the energy to use to build their little cocoon, like kind of like wasp looking nests inside your gut. And then you rip it all out before they hatch out, and they've expended that. So if you've had it for a while, they've fed off your neural energy and your brain to go to fourth density. You have to keep drawing them down until you finally get ahead of it. So I've been doing that for now a year, and I'm getting ahead of it finally. It's not gone yet, but I'm mostly ahead of it. And as I keep going, I've been doing those cleanses every 3 weeks and 4 days for a year now. And it makes a massive, massive difference. I'm just going to be talking about how I do that. And everything is food grade that I use. And it's essentially a recipe. You go, how do you make pickle? How do you pickle beets? That's how I do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sharing a recipe. It's not a protocol for a health situation. It's a recipe. And a lot of recipes are healthy. If you eat right, it's a big thing. So how do you eat right? Here's what I eat. Here's the stuff I do. So people go,
because Gene is so unique and everybody else is, I'm unique. We're all individuals. And so each little recipe has to be tweaked.
Yeah, share your truth, do what works for you. And, the Rockefellers took control of the health and they, push all this stuff that's come from petroleum fractionalization into our bodies for a fortune, and they have to pay before to dump it at sea. If they got caught by the EPA, they had to pay massive amounts. So now they, pump it into our bodies, and stuff from fertilizer, the making of fertilizer. There was a place, the only landfill in the US that would take that was in Florida. And so
how do you feel about I've got my own pet peeves too about a lot of different things, but because I was in IT for so many years as a programmer, but I did electronic data interchange. I basically helped with the commerce. Specifically, it was the Walmart that started it up, and if you didn't comply to Walmart's code, you didn't get your shoes into their store and whatnot, and it was so controlled. Today, Google controls every application that we do out there. They say that they have all the security and all these things, and then you double check and you send a code to your phone, and then you check your phone. And then I just think that they're doing this to us on purpose to keep us in their little matrix world of insanity. Is there anything in their site that we could see that this is all going to change? That I don't think that they're secure. There is a cyber security attacks out there. I agree with that. but to the level that they have us jumping from one device to another device, it's just every time I go to and I have to use their products, and I'm moving away from them. But I just like to see the something like screw big IT corporations at this time. I that's how I feel about it. Do you see anything coming on the pipeline about that?
Yeah, actually, Russia's already doing that because, with the sanctions, they're going into package 8. Eighth package, Vander Crazy has said, I love Alex calls her Vander Crazy. So Vander Crazy said, this one's going to really bite because now we're going to sanction, hygiene projects. So products. So you won't be able to ship toilet paper. It's like, not only in the Europe can you not have power now for the winter coming because they shut fuel and they blew it up, but now you're not going to be able to have hot water, and you can't even use water and soap because you won't have soap from it. It's like, or toilet paper. It's like, oh my God.
Take away the necessities. I'm seeing
Yeah.
bare shelves in the store. Okay, so I don't know if you know where I live. I'm in Northwest Arkansas. It's corporate headquarters of Walmart, and
Yep.
that's all they monopolize this whole area. And let me tell you, that's a whole new show. But I went in the store before me and you got on the Zoom here, and I noticed that a lot of things are not in there. So is the executive orders is the executive order that 45 put into place? I know it's been in place, but I think the distribution warehouses are running low on products. I'm hearing that the Mississippi River is low on water. You can't get a cargo shipped down to be able to get some of the products that are on there. I'm just hearing so much. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a lot of the Great Lakes are low. And of course, Hoover Dam is below the spillways. Because they're draining stuff, the Earth Alliance is filling up dumps all over the place. They're taking it out by filling them up, flooding them out.
So that's us. The white hats are doing that.
Yep.
Whoa.
Happening all over the world.
Whoa, I did not know that.
First one they found it worked really well was, of course, DC. They flooded the Potomac in, and it was coming up through the storm grates, flowing down the streets. Like, no, nothing to see here. This is normal. We always have flooding coming out storm grates when it's not even raining.
I know.
Every day.
Richard Citizen journalist was out there, and he's walking along, and this is when he was really popular. I don't know where he's at now, but he's just like, "What is this?" It was just all this water, and you're right, there was no rain there whatsoever.
Yeah. And near the library, I think it was the White House library, you could see cat a corner. They were tearing up the ground, and there were levels of buildings below the ground there. The guy was, I think it was him. He was walking through there and showing it. And
that was him filming it. That was unbelievable. So can you bring us current to what is going on? I mean, this is October 19th, 2022, and we're all sitting on the edge of our seat, right? And it is to listen to Gene, but also we're expecting something from. I'm not sure how all the calendars work, but maybe you can help us understand that, Gene.
Yeah. So what is going on in the world now is I had to do a flash update on Deep Dives yesterday, and it'll be put up on Rumble. And then, of course, I'm going to do it now. So thank you, because this is so important what's happening in the world. Of course, the mainstream media, nothing they tell you is even remotely true. There's not even a grain of truth in it anymore. It's gotten ludicrous how far away. I mean, used to have something in there based off of something. Now it's based off of just utterly making it up. Like, when Nord Stream was blown up, they actually, in a England rag, I'll call it, it wasn't really a newspaper. I mean, people think it is. And there's a picture of Putin in a mini sub. He actually went down there and did it himself. And that little glass kind of plastic dome around him, that pipeline down there is over 100 meters down. That's 300 feet, 33 pounds per square inch. That's 3,300 pounds per square inch down there. That thing would be squashed. That'd be like, grape.
You would know, because you know what it's like to be down in those submarines.
And now Sweden and Germany have gone down with special craft crawlers and took pictures. And that pipeline down there is seriously over-engineered. That took expertise. And Sweden said, national security, we can't release it. Too sensitive. And Germany pretty much said the same thing. It's so sensitive.
Yeah.
National security, you can't. Yeah, you don't bite the hand that feeds you, do you? So,
you're right. So there's nothing wrong with the Nord Stream then, right?
They took out I think a portion of one is already fixed.
Okay.
They took out one, and then they're on this update, or on the situation update I did last week on Deep Dives, I showed there were actually 4 lines. And so they took out the 2 of 1 and 1 of 2 of Nord Stream 2. So half of it was not taken out. They can still send gas through that. It just means flipping a valve. Macron is very upset because he found out to get gas from the US will cost, low LP gas will cost 10 times as much. It's like, wow, that's a friend? What kind of friend card charges you 10 times? Like, yeah, who knew?
Yeah.
You pump it into a ship, take it all the way across the Atlantic, pump it back out, costs 10 times as much as turning a valve on a pipeline and sending it to you that way. Yeah, obviously, that's going to be a lot cheaper. So now Russia is actually working with Erdogan. Probably didn't complete Erdogan, however you say it's in Turkey, the head of Turkey, and they're going to make that country the gas hub. And all of the gas that went through Nord Stream can go through Turkstream. And they have they tried to sabotage that too. So the Russians actually caught a terrorist team, and they're in Siberia. They have a lot of proof on a lot of things. So they know who did it. We know who did it. And I covered completely. The Kearsarge USS Kearsarge was doing, I think it was Ball-ups. It was called something. It was still a 6th Fleet special operation in that area, right south of the island there. And that's where the pipeline runs. And they were doing special bottom of the ocean ops. I'm like, this isn't obvious to people. And they had helicopters and aircraft doing loopity-loops. That's how you drop divers. I mean, hello. Wow. It's obvious. And then shortly after the explosion, 2 MI6 divers got awarded for above and doing special operations above and beyond the call of duty. I wonder what that might be. I wonder what that would be for. Highly trained special operation. And by the way, those guys are divers. Deep divers. I'm like, how obvious can you get?
See, it's so obvious to you because this was your world. So somebody that lives in the city, it's just in their MK Ultra, it's just another movie, right? They don't understand it.
Yeah.
How about when you mentioned bombings, this came to me, I'm kind of diverted a little bit, but there were some videos out there. I think was it New York? People were throwing bombs, or FBI building. What was that? Was that just all bullshit?
FBI building in DC, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see the depths of what that is. Okay. I think it's more than meets the eye. Okay. So we have to wait and see what's going on. It's obvious something major going on. That was, to me, listening to what I heard, just my ears. And I listened to the ocean for, I've been at sea, if you add up all the days, 12 years underwater. And a lot of what I did was to listen to what's out there. So if there's another submarine there, like Soviet, it might be something to know if somebody's following you, right? So, and all kinds of other things. I did a lot of things out there, but I do have a fairly good ear. And so it sounded to me like what I was hearing was rifle shots. A whole bunch of them all at once. Kind of sounds like what you hear from a firing squad. Right. That's just my take. I don't know. I'm just saying what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Sounded like a firing squad to me. There's
Sounds
a lot
like
of
could
smoke
be.
up there. Yeah. Boom. Like, 21 gun salute, 7 guns, 3 times, boom. And you see all the smoke going up from the rifles. I'm like, yeah, it looks like that up there. A lot of smoke and a lot of boom, boom.
So 21 gun salute is for somebody that we're honoring. What's the
Yeah,
other one when it's not it's not a 21 salute, it's shorter, isn't it?
it's shorter. It's a salute to a dignitary.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
just a dignitary salute. I don't remember right now. It's not 21. It's less than that, and less
Yeah.
rifles too. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
when Smokey Joe got signed in. That's not a the right salute you're doing there.
I
And,
know.
I mean, it's like there's a lot of things wrong with this picture. Your Bible's upside down. It's a
Yes.
Masonic Bible. That's satanic. I was like, hello. Pay attention to the optics here. I can tell something's radically wrong with this picture.
So speaking of Smokey Joe, is his fire or is he about to be put out pretty soon? What do you think?
Oh my gosh. I think he's already out.
Hmm.
At least definitely mentally. He's trying to shake hands with people that aren't there. He's trying to, ask for somebody who's been dead for a month. Is she here? Is she here? She's been
So
dead for a month.
I could look at that two ways. Yeah, I know. It's like I could look at that two ways. He knows what's coming and he's just playing it.
Yeah.
He's playing it really well, or else he has totally lost control of his mind.
Either he's totally lost his mind or it's an actor playing it really well. You're really good. The mask is great. I mean, you really look pretty close, pretty darn close, and you're playing somebody who lost their mind perfectly. They have no memory left. None at all. No short-term to long-term conversion at all.
So Gene, I know that we kind of run in different circles, if you will, but what I'm hearing is something that it's going to sound really silly to you, but they're saying that Tom Hanks is a good guy in some circles.
Buh. Buh.
Do you believe that is even being brought up, that they're saying he was working for the White Hats? I believe, from what I've seen, and this is going back 2 years ago, with the pageants for the children, that's what triggered it for me. How
Look
creepy.
at the Epstein Island list.
Yeah, people are forgetting. So we've got more people that are waking up, Gene. A lot more people that are waking up, and they're jumping in a spot that we didn't jump in, right? So thank God, you and Kirsten W. were the ones that taught. I didn't even know what a dumb was until I heard it from you. How long ago that was, I can't recall. But every time you said dumb, I would get up to real close to the TV before I started turning the page. And I'm like, what is he saying? Because I don't know what a dumb is. Can you admit? And then you would say it again. And the next time you were on her show, I'd listen. He's saying dumb. And then one time you spelled it out. I was on my computer and I'm just like looking it up. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then you started showing the visuals. Well, there's people who are waking up right now who don't even know what we know back, when you were explaining everything a year and a half or 2 years ago. And they're just jumping into this now. And if there are people out there that are not on the up and up and saying Tom Hanks was a really good guy, there's going to be a lot of confusion.
Yeah, just like with the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases. Of course, they call it dumb because we're too dumb to see it. Where's all the money going? And how come trucks drive into the side of a mountain? They go straight into solid rock or steel. How do they do that? And then I used to every time in the military, because I got almost no sleep at sea. I mean, I've literally stayed awake as long as 176 hours, just drinking pots and pots of coffee a day and burying a needle in the palm of my hand to try to stay awake, standing up, pacing back and forth. And I put my leg up on the gear way up straight over my head, or do a martial arts stance for 12 hours on watch straight. I mean, all kinds of things trying to stay awake. I'm so tired. I get every time they have to let you transfer every 2 years through another submarine. I'd always take it so I could get some rest and take my leave. I always have full 60 days on the books. Then I take 30 days advance, and I take my because I would get transferred all the way from the Atlantic to the Pacific, I get full travel and proceed, 10 days and 4 days. So I'd have 104 days. So I'd get off and I just go home and I would fall asleep and wake up 2 days later, go to the bathroom, have something to eat, go back to sleep for 2 more days, and finally, and so because of that, I would always have my car shipped either to LA or somewhere in the East Coast, like Norfolk, pick it up and drive all the way across the US because I love to see.
How was it for you to adjust? I'm kind of going to divert a little bit here. I know a lot of people are wanting, Gene, just give us the 411, but I'm just kind of curious. So you're in a submarine, you're down below, completely different vibration. You're in water, then you're on land. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I could adapt to that. And then of course you're sleeping in a bed that is on land, and then you got to go back in, and then go back down under and stuff like that. Wow, you really had to adjust to a lot of different well, first of all, depths, altitudes, all kinds of things.
When you're stationed on a submarine that's going to sea, even the SSBNs, you get 3 months on, 3 months off. There's 2 crews, blue and gold. So you switch crews. Well, that takes about 3 weeks. So you meet the other crew, turn over the ship, you go out on sea trials, takes a week. So 4 weeks, then you go on patrol for 2 months. Then you fly back, like if you're stationed in Hawaii, you would pick up the submarine in Guam. Or if you're in Charleston, you'd fly out to Scotland and Holy Loch. So do that, then you go down, you take that. Then when you get back, you supposedly have 3 months, right? No, you don't. You're training like crazy. You're attack teachers and trainers and all of this. So that's the first month. And then the second 2 months, you're hardly there. But if you're on a fast attack, and I've been on 2, you're never at home. You're almost never. I actually went to sea and was underwater for 129 days straight. Never came up. We ran out of everything but bean sprouts and peanut butter to eat. I was like, after that, it was 10 years before I could stand the smell of them or look of them. I'm like, oh, get that peanut butter or sprouts away from me. It's all I eat is a sandwich made out of bean sprouts and peanut butter. And it's like Zappa used to say, a wish sandwich. I wish I had some bread.
Yeah, you're lucky it wasn't bologna.
Oh. I was like, it was, so we would, after that, we pulled into Groton, Connecticut, and we were supposed to get 30 days off. So I go home, and at 3 a.m., I get a call. I just pulled in. Have your sea bag packed for 90 days, be on the pier. In 2 hours, we're pulling out.
Wow.
And we pulled out, and we did not come back for a year. We went to the Med. We did 2 Med cruises. We came out of there. We did 2 northern weddings. Up in the North Atlantic. We came back. We picked up a bunch of new officers and did two cruises to train them for 30 more days each. And I'm like, we're never in port. So you almost never get to go home and sleep. You almost never see your family.
So
we were never in port.
When you were down in the submarine, did you see these DUMs, or you just knew of them? Or
submarines common to the Hollywood thing are solid steel. There's no window. I mean, there's a window. It's called the sonar window that the hydrophones look through, but that's a special kind of material, and that the sonar can listen through. You can't see through. It's in the front end of the submarine. You can't see through that at all. There's no windows at all. Not only that, when you're below about 300 feet, even if you did have them, it's pitch dark down there. And remember that every 100 feet is 33 pounds per square inch. So when you get down 300, 400, 500, 600 feet, you couldn't have a window unless
the see that's so that stuff, and I am I have no clue about it.
Yes, that went to the bottom of the Marianas Trench over 28,000 feet deep. They had a 2-foot thick piece of quartz glass, very special, high tempered, and it's 2 feet thick. And then they have to have lights down there, and there's not much to see down there even still. I mean, it's just debris.
So when we do talk about these DUMs, how far down are they? I mean, it?
Well, it depends on which ocean you're in.
Okay.
If you're talking DUMs under the ocean, the Atlantic's not very deep. It
So
doesn't get very.
I've got a silly question, Gene, is they had to take people that really knew how to create these DUMBs and knew the water. They had to take military people to create them, right?
Specialists, yes.
Jeez.
The ones that are the under the ocean were created by boring in through the down under the continents and then coming down up, down under the oceans. And they do have entryways for submarines to go in, but you have special key codes, so to speak, to open those doorways, and they go in, and the submarines can go all the way under the continent and come out the other side. The
I was
idea
doing
originally
a speech on Sunday, and I was really nervous to do it in the and thank God for you, Gene, because I got to give you credit for this. You were the one to open my eyes about the children, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So when I went up to do my speech, I kept praying and just saying, "Oh God, help me! I'm nervous, I'm scared, I don't know what to do." And all I kept hearing was talk about the children, talk about the children, and I did. My husband was filming what my speech was. He says, "You gave me the goosebumps when you started talking about the children." And I said, "It's because I'm so passionate about it." Where are we with this DUMBs and the children? And I mean, have
Moms and
we?
the children is other than South Africa mostly taken care of as far as that. But you've still got the trafficking. That's why the Ukraine, because Putin knew what was going on in the dumps and the tunnels. Ukraine's like an anthill under there,
Yeah.
especially under Kiev and Odessa.
Oh my God.
A picture of a screen share of something I got of the tunnel system under Odessa and the maglevs that go from Odessa straight to Kiev. And then up all over Asia, the Middle East and Asia and all of that, and Europe from Ukraine. They were trafficking massively. What they were doing is in Eastern Ukraine, the people that voted for the referendum, why do you think they voted yeah? Because they didn't know if their children would come home. Children wouldn't come home. Even parents just wouldn't come home from work. And they not just finding mass graves out there. There's a lot of missing people. And so even in Brazil, you've got a lady down there who's saying the terrible things they do to children, to traffic them, and to do these sacrifices to Moloch and Baal. And the horrific nature of the sexual things they do to very young children, including newborns, where they remove their teeth so oral sex, they can't bite. I mean, horrific. Just makes me sick to my stomach and just really sad,
And people need to know about this. The ones that are
yeah.
just waking up, if you're hearing this for the first time, he is speaking the truth, and
Yeah.
it's been shielded from us. And if it doesn't touch your heart enough to take a stance for the children, pray for the children, mercy on their soul, I don't know.
Yeah, like that lady that's working in Brazil with Bolsonaro and getting laws passed against this. Please support her if you can. If you contact my Gmail and ask to be in touch with the Colombia coordinator for South America, he can send you the video, and she in the video has ways to contact her where you can support her to end this trafficking in South America of these children. There's worse of the teeth parts, just the beginning of what she goes into, the things she's actually seen all over the Amazon and all over Colombia and Brazil and South America. It's horrific. And that's what they were doing in Ukraine. Same thing. And that's what they're doing in Taiwan. Taiwan's next. With what, cover this in the situation update when we get to it. But that's the same thing for all of Asia. They've been doing that. That's the other part of the deep state's threshold on Earth. The big two areas were Ukraine and Taiwan. And that's why China's going in there and taking that back. Xi is working with the Earth Alliance. And why do you think they're on gold? All of BRICS is on gold. Why do you think of that so? And a senator in the US put a bill for it in Congress, a congressman, to put us on gold.
Yes,
You think
that just happened? Didn't that just happen?
Yep, just happened. That's called Nasara and Jasara. It is coming. It's going to come. But in the meantime, you've got to collapse the house of cards they built. This system, the petrodollar, is coming down. Saudis, just this week, and we're not far into this week, announced they're going to go, they want to be part of BRICS. The Saudis. Holy smoke. That means the US will now sanction them and the Western Bloc will sanction them. Do you think they care now? Because that was the first trafficking hub the Earth Alliance took out when Trump met him in Las Vegas, excuse me.
Yeah, Vegas.
He tried to kill him, both him and Trump and the prince. And Trump saved his life. And that's a life debt. That prince, that's why he got a sword dance for him. That prince has a life debt to him. You want to understand what that means to a Muslim when you save their life. That's a life debt. They will recognize that. And when he went there, he was made an honorary king, an honorary sultan. He is part of the sacred houses, the Ishmaeli, which are the true bloodline that protects Christ, Jesus Christ, the Ishmaeli, the sons of Ishmael that wrote the Quran long before Muhammad was born, hundreds of years. Muhammad just rewrote the thing after he got pinned to the floor of a cave during a meditation, a sabbatical he was having by a fallen angelic. And his wife told him, oh no, that was an angel. Yeah, it was an angel. It was a fallen angel. That's why when you want the truth, you don't go to an angel. You go to God, the Holy Spirit, Christ. That's it. You don't go to go-between here. You go to the Holy Trinity. And so then he, because of that, angel told him and his wife told him, he rewrote and got the Quran we know today, which is not the original Quran. It's part of the original sacred books of the Bible, 777. That has been protected by the Ishmaeli, who were pursued by the Khaganate, the sons of Genghis Khan, and they almost wiped them out. And I got very fortunate to meet one in a dog park, and he was just an amazing person, amazing. Because
I think you shared that. You shared that with us on my last video.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to hear much more about that, I have been interviewing Gene. Maybe almost a year now, Gene.
Yeah, it's been a long and wonderful ride. Thank you.
Yes, how about it? And I remember the first time I reached out to you and I almost fell over and you said, yes, you would. I was like, oh my gosh. I was so excited, and I still am to this day. You touch my heart each and every time, and I say that in the videos all the time too. I can feel your soul, I can feel your heart, and I can feel your love for just the information, and especially for the children. And I keep going back to that today because I don't want anyone to forget it. I don't want to lose sight. It's not about the Nasera and the Gesera. It never has been. It's about helping humanity with humility and love and grace.
Yeah. And, for all of the truthers out there that are listening, God shared something with me 3 days ago, because I've been going through a situation with another person, just put it that way, and attacking the blessed for service in me. So we have gotten pulled by the cabal, almost every single truther there is, into a false track, into a bunch of baloney where we try to vet who's good and who's bad in the truthers.
Yes.
Oh, so-and-so, whoever, just pick a name, like Janine or Jean or Charlie or Simon or Kim or whoever, Judy, or Kirsten, or is good or bad.
Right.
That's not where our focus should be. Who we are doesn't matter. What matters is the real world, our children. Number one, our livelihood. Number two, to be able to feed our children and take care of our families. Focus on the real world. Stop focusing on the internet. Get information from people. So how do you know who to follow? Real simple. First, you pray. Then you research and use your intuition, and then you pray again, and you go with the composite of what feels true. And, I'll get some information from the dark sides of things, from the Rockefellers and the Rothschild stuff, because I know what I'm looking and I can decode it. I know what they're saying. I know below all the symbols what the truth is. So let's not vet each other. Let's focus on the real world. What's really going on in Ukraine? How do you know? Well, do you think the Saudis would be siding with Russia if they're running out of missiles and this is their last throw? These last 9 or so days of throwing missiles is their last hoorah? No. And China and all of these countries are going over to the BRICS and going over to the EEU, the Eastern Eurasian Unit. I mean, they would not bite the hand that has controlled them as little vassal states for a very long time. The Saudis were flipped, and that was the first huge child trafficking. They took that down, and they know the truth. And so they're done. They're done. And they cut back 2 million barrels a day in production. Why? Why? Because they see the truth. Because they were going to put an oil cap on. That's part of the sanctions for the 8th row of sanctions, oil cap. Who controls the price of something in a buyer's market or in a seller's market? Think who controls in which market. You're in a seller's market in oil. The seller controls the prices. That's why they created OPEC. OPEC Plus includes, of course, Russia, China, a few other places. So they control it, and the West wanted to control it. So they said, you're not controlling anything. And same thing with what's happening in Ukraine. You blow up infrastructure out for Germany and for Turks tried to take that and blow up a bridge and do this stuff. You've crossed the Rubicon. That means you've gone a bridge too far. They're not going to, Russians aren't going to put up with that. So they're currently, Putin has said, that's a probe. They're probing to see their defenses. That's a probe. That's like, I come at you, break 5 or 6 ribs, one knee, your right arm, dislocate your left shoulder, just probing to see where you're weak here. I'm going to come in full force. It's like, that's a probe. Holy smoke. And there's over 220,000 Russian military now in those 4 new Russian states. And the West said they're not going to recognize them. Yeah, but you were supposed to recognize Kosovo. You can't have it both ways. And so this is how you know who's lying and who's telling the truth. Recognize Kosovo, don't recognize that. You're trying to say, do what I say for you to do. If it doesn't fit me, then it's not true. No, the truth is the truth. It doesn't matter. So like I would drive all the way across the US, every time I got transferred, every 2 years. I am a martial artist. I pay attention. And I have an eye for detail. That's why I learned to decode back in the Navy. They taught me because I have an eye for detail. And I see big, huge power lines going to a substation, and then it goes nowhere from there. It goes into the ground or a little tiny building out in the middle of New Mexico. What's here? There's nothing here. It's a desert. There's sagebrush. What's it going under the ground for? There's nothing for 100 miles.
How much underneath under the surface of Earth here is, from state to state, would you say is all built up under there?
So like Alabama, I'm driving, there's all these ventilation pipes coming up in the middle of nowhere. I'm way, way far away from any city. I'm like hours away. I'm like, what are you ventilating? The earth needs air. Give me a breath. I was like, no way.
Do you think that we're going to take that over and either do something with it?
It's pretty much mostly done.
Oh, that's good.
Alliance has got the majority, and then with the Agarthans coming up and all of the inner earthers helping, as well as a lot of non-terrestrials, because they've violated all of the rules of conduct. They've crossed the Rubicon a long time ago, the deep state, out and off planet. They've crossed and been doing things and trafficking humans and doing crimes against humanity and against other species all over the place. The Orion Syndicate is off the chart. And they're invading parallel creations, parallel timelines, alternate realities, except, it's all the same thing, just so you know all the terms. And so they were getting ready to create an incursion like you see in Doctor Strange movie. So
Mhm.
All of those universes are going, no, you're not. So we got lots of help, not even from here. I mean, not even from this universe. They're like, no, you're not. We'll go to where you're starting all of this garbage from, this earth, this reality, this timeline. So it's off the
So
chart.
are we on one timeline right now?
There's now many timelines involved because they were getting ready to collapse a whole bunch. Like they've done one truncation with Tartaria into this line before, but they were getting ready to do hundreds. And so all of those beings and all of those universes are going to go, no, you're not. That wipes out how many trillions, I don't know, numbers of beings you can't put a number on. There's
Wow.
no conception for a number that vast of planets and worlds and galaxies and solar systems and beings, off the chart. So they go, no, you're not. And we're going to figure out where this is coming from. We're going to help stop that. And so they are helping. And so now saying when something's going to happen, it's a differential equation and a linear algebra equation with the amount of variables that are infecting each other. It's like the Mandelbrot set feeding back to itself and time traveling back. And it's like, yeah, a linear equation with a Mandelbrot feedback. It's like, oh my gosh. It's
So let me, in translation, what Gene is saying, it's a Rubik's clue and it just keeps moving.
Yeah, it keeps moving. So, I mean, only God can tell you when anything's going to happen anymore. I'm like, I can tell you near field. Yeah, tomorrow. I'm pretty sure tomorrow.
So this whole great thing about being awake at this time and being, this reawakening is about spirituality. I mean, I'm going to kind of touch on that a little bit. So if everybody was comatose, if you will, for so long, and as you know, Gene, a lot of people walked away from God. They literally did. There were more atheists popping up, and it was because of, I believe, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, is because of the MK Ultra, because of the TV. People were being told that, you control your own reality by working hard and harder and paying taxes and stuff like that. And it was all about material things. Now that we know that what the real truth is, you have to go deep inside and get in touch with yourself and God, and have that relationship, have that direct connection, and all of a sudden you'll start to see things a lot differently. Or what I've always said is you take off the rose-colored glasses to actually see where we're at right now. What would you say about that?
Yeah, our connection to God lies within us. And so, it's, you look for God within and get your connection back to God.
Yeah.
Stop the freaking TV off.
Yeah.
Stop listening. I mean, I play videos of DVDs. I don't have plugged into that thing other than a DVD player that and a cassette video cassette player, old VHS. That's it.
You know what I've been watching, Gene, are the old black and white cowboy movies. It just seems so innocent then. And then it was a time, it was just, there was no, I don't know if there was MK Ultra and that stuff, but that's what I've gone to. We don't have TV, we cut the cable. We have the internet, obviously, but there are times where I want to watch a movie, a hopeless romantic movie, but I see things in those movies, if they're more current, all the messages that they put out there, and it's just awful.
Even the old black and whites, there's stuff like, especially some of them, certain movies like Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, those, yeah. No, I'm even talking
every
about
single scene has something Masonic in it. Every single scene. And there's
Harry Potter. We were talking about that, Harry Potter.
Massive.
Massive. And then there was that one Hocus Pocus. I was on another show, and I just happened to Google all of the major lines that they were in. They were all spells, Gene.
Yep. We had to quit going to operas. Before the job, we used to love going to the symphony and the opera, and we went to one, and it was just nothing but, I didn't realize the day. And my wife and I and one other couple got and walked out. But within 5 minutes, this they changed the set and they came open, and there's this big huge wheel and a goat guy sitting on the middle of the axle, and these people in black and red robes came out singing in Latin. And it's a Beltane. It's to Beltane and to Moloch. And I'm like, my wife goes, we are so out of here. I go, yep, let's go. And and everybody else sat there, and I could literally see as they were saying the Latin spells, incantations, demonic flooding through that wheel and that goat figure and going into people in the audience. I'm like doing my invocation, armor God up, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we're not going to the opera or the anymore. This is it. It's nasty. It is nasty. And then even
and how long has all of this been going on? If you were to go throw it back to a certain year, I know that
thousands of years, tens of thousands. If you go to some of the old ballets, we could go into those too, because you look at the Nutcracker. It's a lot of satanic imagery in there. There's a lot of symbolic satanic stuff in there. Even, I mean, a lot of them. There, you look, it's been in there for a very long time. Some of your classical music even has it.
I hope that we do away with Halloween. I really do.
Yeah.
We need to remove that's the first one gone.
Yeah, I drive around the neighborhood now, and there's skeletons and it's hanging in trees, and I'm like, and ghosts, and I'm like, you're gonna celebrate the most massive day for child sacrifice on earth other than Beltane. Oh, if you knew. And you're taking your kids around on this day, what do you think your trick or treating is really meaning?
So, if we were all asleep for generations and we didn't know that, and this becomes a tradition, all of our traditions are going to have to be closely looked at. We're going to have to really know. I mean, we should start educating. The more that these people wake up, and now I know that everything is a process and it's all going to take time. But I don't know if it's going to happen, within the next year or two. But I'm sure that 5 years down the road, after everybody gets cracked open, if you will, then I think they're going to take a look and just say all of these don't serve us anymore.
Yep. So we'll have to change a lot of things, like in the U.S. Thanksgiving.
Yes, and
that was
how about
war
Easter?
Party.
What about Easter?
Yeah, a bunny with an egg. What does that have to do with what you're supposed to be celebrating?
That's what I've always asked when I was a little kid, and it was just like, go get your basket, go get the eggs, be a kid.
Christmas, a tree. What's that supposed to mean? How does that tie to what that's supposed to mean? Think about the symbols they put on you and the colors they put in there. The colors have huge meaning, huge. The red and blue, the bright red and the dark blue mixed together get purple. That's saying the blue bloods with the red blood makes the divine for their god Baal and Satan. So,
well, we threw out our Christmas tree. My husband didn't know why I felt that way. I was just like, well, we're old now, we don't have any kids, we don't need any of that stuff. I don't feel like putting it up. I had to give him excuses and reasons not to do that. And same thing with the Halloween stuff, all went out the door.
So I would suggest that if you're gonna do it, change how you look at it at least.
Yeah.
The tree means I am respecting God's creation of the nature and the trees that help clean the earth and take in the carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen and the hydrocarbons to create what they are. So we don't have global climate change because of trees. Oh, well, let's look at how biology works.
If I can make a recommendation, if anybody out there writes children's books or wants to rewrite what Gene's saying, he's on cue here, because this is what I've been saying. If you can't change something, take a look at or change your mind the way that you feel about it, and the only way that you could do that is use your imagination and give it all new meaning, just like we're taking back all the numbers from them, right? We could take back the holidays or make it really more, like you said, honoring Mother Nature at this time, whatever it might be with the trees and everything else. The angels, what
yeah. I mean, even saying Mother Nature, people are going to go, that's New Age. No, it's not. Nature is nature. It's the nature of God's creation, of the beautiful trees and the forests and the plants and the bees and that's part of what God created. And we recognize that God gave us many beautiful things. And so we celebrate the different things that help keep us alive. That's it.
Yeah.
So celebrating nature of a tree because God gave us a tree. you know, it's like one of my favorite videos that ever somebody sent me is God made a dog. So God created a dog, somebody that would sit beside you and serve you and help you and protect you and love you, and no matter what. No matter what, you come over, they're always like, I've been gone 5 minutes. Oh, you've been gone so long. Oh, I missed you so bad.
Try having 4 of them. I've got one that's a senior and then one that's a puppy, and the puppy doesn't understand that he's sick. And I know that they travel in packs, but I'm kind of worried about the little, well, he's a puppy, but he's a, what is he, a West Highland and Terrier. So he's just going to tell everyone he's the alpha dog, and the senior one is, I'm just, unfortunately, he's tired. And, it's,
Our senior dog,
pardon?
when my girl grew up, our senior dog, relieved being alpha to her, had no choice because my dog got her by the neck and climbed up on her. It's not about sex, it's about I'm the top dog here.
Yes.
And I pulled her off, said that's enough. But ever since then now, but I recognize the seniority. So when I feed them, I feed her first, and I literally have to sit between them because mine will try to take the food away. It's like, go. Hey, you keep doing that. So finally I'm pulling her away by her collar, and I'm just short of putting her down on her back and going, stop it now. I'm the alpha here, not you. So you just gotta establish who's boss. You could be the doggy boss, but I'm the boss.
I'm the top dog here. So
top dog in this house.
That you reverse the letters of God and you've got your dog, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what else is current in the news that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that because it's a lot.
Okay.
So if you can pause, I'll skip to the loo and we'll dig in.
Okay.
So, what, like we were talking about, is going on is not what they're telling you. So this is a person I follow. I highly recommend it. That he's in St. Petersburg. So he does know what's going on the ground in Russia. So.
This is recording. Okay.
Yep.
He's here that
let me make sure I shared with sound. Hold on. I'll make sure I screen share with computer sound on. Okay. And let me adjust the volume reasonable. Okay.
the APU shot 16 civilians in the north of the Kherson region. Now, is this just Russian propaganda? Is this complete baloney? As we see like in the West when they find a cemetery, it's not a cemetery, it's a mass grave. All this twisting of stuff. Well, according to RIA Novosti, quote, we literally received information that in Velika Alexandrivka, about which they say that they captured Ukrainian troops, 16 civilians were shot in front of a person, and the first ones they caught were taken and shot. It's not clear, men, women, in front of a person. He personally saw this situation. So this is eyewitness testimony, I believe, and it goes on to talk about another HIMARS strike today on missiles that hit a civilian bus, killing 5 people. Now, is that propaganda? Is that rubbish? Well, ordinarily, I'd expect the comments to be filled with it. Oh, Putin bot and whatever, just saying absolute rubbish.
So this is Earl Grey, is his name.
Okay.
Well,
do not buy solar panels. If you live in one of these 11 states of America, it's the worst decision you could.
This was in the Mail yesterday, highlighted by Alexander Mercuris. And the very first line, we're hunting them down and shooting them like pigs. How the Ukrainians are taking brutal revenge on the...
So this is in the Daily Mail.
Mm-hmm.
Sickening.
Yeah.
collaborators who betrayed their neighbors. I have no idea why the Mail printed this at all. I cannot see any reason why they do it, and especially in the manner that they've done it. This is sickening, and I'm very sorry for highlighting this to you, but I think it's extremely important. I'm baffled why it's been printed, and we'll go through it, unfortunately. And then we see, like, almost justification. Ukrainians were beaten, electrocuted, and forced to endure mock executions when Russia overtook Balaklia. Well, there's no evidence to support that I know of yet. So
I have found nothing to support that.
this amazingly shocking headline, but then it's okay. It's okay that Ukrainians are doing that because they've been treated badly, although the evidence they give for their mistreatment doesn't appear to exist, hasn't been proven as far as I'm aware. The interrogations were carried out by Russia's Federal Security Service. Some Ukrainians are assisting Vladimir Putin's war crimes. What war crimes? You know, we've yet to see solid evidence about this. The evidence I've seen is mounting, undeniably, through the work of Eva K. Bartlett, Patrick Lancaster, Vanessa Beeley, among others, that it's Ukraine committing them. So
and the people he just named are on the ground in Ukraine.
Okay.
Citizen journalists on the ground reporting, and they live off donations from people. That's their sole income.
Wow.
And they're just on the ground in the war zones and in eastern Ukraine reporting the truth.
We have the Mail just then sort of justifying it. Kiev has opened investigations into 1,300 suspected traitors and launched 450 prosecutions of collaborators. That's not a good thing to publish, personally. Others accused of betraying their nation are being tracked down and slaughtered by resistance fighters. That's not a good look. Then it goes, when the Russians took over the city of Balaklia. Sorry, what? How does that lend in to this behavior? How does that justify the fact that Russians took Balaklia? You see what I mean? It's really disjointed. And then it has these images of Russian prisoners of war. You know, and then it goes on to all sorts of other pictures. And then how is featuring this guy? Recent fatalities include Ivan Sushko, a wedding toastmaster. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
Then it repeats this Kiev.
So this article, I'll just cap it, is going into how they're executing people that were, during the time the Russians were in there, supported Russians, or people who speak Russian. That's it. You speak Russian, we kill you. You practice your Russian traditions, we kill you. We're hunting you down and slaughtering you like kids. I mean pigs. The kids, because they're doing it to kids too, by the way. That's why I did that Freudian slip. This includes children of the whole families. This is sickening. So this is the kind of thing that's going on. So here's this channel, Earl Grey.
Yeah.
I recommend you follow him. Very good truth person. Very good. So what's going on? France workers, as of yesterday, are on nationwide strike. Their French trade union called a nationwide strike. And Macron, and they took to the streets, some of them. I recommended in my flash updates, just stay home, because Macron has a history of this. There were, and you'll see in a video what I mean. It got violent. The police charged. Is this the beginning of the people of the world, especially EO, waking up to their true power? Who makes everything run? The people do. The people get the water and power to the homes of everyone, including the so-called elite. Their homes, their food even gets delivered to them. Their sewage is moved by the people that pick up the trash, make the sewage move, deliver the food, fuel. The people make the world run. If this is realized worldwide, neocon globalists will have no power, none. They don't make this world run. They just are a parasite. And live off of us and our hard work. All the people have to do is stay at home, lock yourself down, stay with your families, and be safe. There's not enough police and military to force everyone to work. So in France, they were going door to door, telling, go to work. Go to work. I mean, every home in the world, they can't pull that off. Or in the Western world, not possible. And police have families too, a lot of them. So do the military. Additionally, they have to have the same basics to live. All of those police, they have the same basics. They need food, they need water, even if they don't have families. The people joined together are an unstoppable force.
So you think this is the beginning of it, Gene?
I really do. The convoys in Canada started them in India and all over Europe.
Well, there's so much. I know that there's just a lot of crime on New York from what I hear from mainstream, and I don't know if it's true or not. But you're hearing about these individual stories where people are just being beaten to death. I heard on a Truther radio podcast that they're telling you now's the time to learn how to use a pistol or a firearm. It's time that we learn how to protect ourselves.
Yeah, that's why I spent 44 some years in martial arts, so I know. And then I also know how to use, I have a Beretta, my wife has a SIG, and we can use them quite well.
Well, I'll make sure I don't rob you.
So we are. That's how God made us.
That's right.
Invincible and unstoppable. So
I love that song.
yeah, me too. So beautiful. It really sings to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just France where the people of the country are waking up to the truth.
In Europe, NATO is increasingly being viewed as a warmonger. Europeans have many crises to deal with. What Europe is going through is nothing short of tragic. Amid an intense energy come economic crisis where people are struggling to make ends meet on a daily basis, NATO and EU seem to be inkling for a war with Russia. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, recently said the Russian military would be annihilated by NATO's forces if tactical nuclear weapons were to be used in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin responded by saying such a move would trigger a global catastrophe. Europeans, for one, have had enough. Now they want to get out of NATO and get out fast. That's why anti-NATO protests are simmering all across Europe.
Good.
Less than a week ago, tens of thousands of protesters choked the streets of France's capital city, Paris, as they chanted anti-NATO slogans. Demonstrators were seen holding a large banner reading "Resistance" and smaller placards that read "Frexit," a reference to a demand that France leave the EU. While at it, they shouted, "Let's get out of NATO." The protesters accused NATO of warmongering, economic disruption, and energy and health restrictions. All of this, they said, was the result of the EU's imposition of sanctions on Russia that are largely seen to have backfired. More recently, anti-NATO protests have also been seen in Italy. Several protesters, led by the USB Union, burned energy bills in Rome and demanded an end to Italy's involvement in NATO. Protests are also being seen in Germany, the Czech Republic, and Moldova. In Berlin, the co-leader of the party spearheading the protests accused the government of waging war on its own people by sanctioning Russia over its military operations.
And to remind everybody, Moldova is bordering Ukraine. Wow. So they know the truth and they're right next to it.
Yeah.
In Ukraine. Europe is heating up, but not in a way governments want it to. What European countries desperately need right now is sufficient gas to produce heat and electricity. That's not really the case. Instead, Europe is showing nascent signs of civil unrest, political turmoil, and social chaos.
That's Ursula von der Leyen you just saw.
Driving the unrest is Europe's involvement in NATO. Ordinary people just want to live their lives. They want their hard-earned money to stay in their pockets, and not get splashed trying to survive a crisis which they view as the EU's doing. No sanctions on Russia would mean Russian gas and oil would continue flowing into Europe. That would pretty much solve all of the continent's problems. Instead, the EU is doubling down on efforts to antagonize Russia to supposedly punish Vladimir Putin. All such efforts are boomeranging. While Ukraine has the sympathy of many in Europe, the cost of supporting Kyiv is beginning to pinch ordinary Europeans really hard. They see just one way out, of Russia not being pushed into a corner and NATO, along with EU, getting the foot off the anti-Moscow accelerator. But NATO and EU are both determined to wage a fight against Russia. So, Europeans are demanding that their countries leave not just NATO, but also the EU. Essentially, solidarity with Ukraine is proving to be really expensive, and Europeans aren't happy about the costs they are incurring. Do you think NATO faces a unique challenge in the form of the people of Europe?
Yeah, definitely I do. So
What it's same all over, beside not even just the United States, but every country. They're trying to show you one side that is happening to make you believe it, right? But now people are standing up now in France, in Europe, and probably more countries, right?
oh yeah, Spain, Madrid, in many places, in Hungary, even though their Orban is solid about not supporting this. Also in Netherlands and Denmark and Sweden, Norway, I mean, many countries all around the world. So this is massive. This is the big one I wanted to cover with you. On the 14th of October, Biden created a law, let's put it that way, or wrote something in some directive. I'll just call it a directive because he has no authority. Biden is destroying the U.S. involvement in the China chip industry. So China and Russia are also working together to end the globalists. So that's pretty obvious. So what's happening has happened is quite massive. So where is it? Where's redacted? Yeah, there it is, way at the end. You should be up there. So this is another really good platform I'd recommend people follow. It's a couple that are not 100% red-pilled, but they do know a lot.
Oh man, this is big. And almost no one in the
I've
West
seen
is
him.
talking about it. What China, Russia, and the United States have done over the last few days will change everything in the biggest way possible, and it's already leading to an economic world war, the likes of which we've never seen before. We'll get into the stunning details in a minute, but first, you'd be forgiven if you were distracted by headlines over the past few months saying that Xi Jinping of China will be thrown out of office soon, or that Vladimir Putin is hiding in a bunker somewhere. All of this is a distraction, and none of it's true. In fact, these two world leaders have been meeting regularly.
Yeah, the hiding in a bunker is the mainstream media. A bunch of brags said that he celebrated his birthday in a bunker up in the Urals or some baloney.
Up massive stores of gold, silver, and securing land that includes as many precious minerals as possible. They've been meeting recently, in fact, to align their currencies together, simpatico, around precious metals. Now, China doesn't have a lot of precious minerals and petroleum, so they need this partnership. And Russia doesn't have the semiconductors and the electronics, so they need those from China. It's a great symbiotic relationship that has grown by over 40% since the start of this war. Yeah, since the beginning of this year. Now, while at the same time the United States announced they are now $31 trillion in debt, $7 trillion of that is to China. So who gets the upper hand now? But the United States is getting desperate, which I will show you more about in a second. And what the Biden administration just did might make your jaw hit the floor. I promise you, no one is reporting on this. It's an astonishing story. Meanwhile, China just congratulated Russia on the annexation of the Donbass region, which is one of the most mineral-rich areas in the world. That is now under Russia's control. And just a few hours ago in China, yes, earlier this morning, China's President Xi Jinping opened the CCP conference with a speech that most of you who watch Western mainstream media will never see. But it was a historic speech, in my opinion. Xi Jinping outlined how China's control of Hong Kong is now complete and that Taiwan is next. Let me repeat that. Xi Jinping stood up and declared the control of Hong Kong is now complete and Taiwan is next. Think he's bluffing? I don't. If you've been watching my show for any length of time, you know that I've been saying that the coming war with China is the biggest story in the world, and it's the main story. And China's full control of Taiwan will be the catalyst. Russia's annexation of the mineral-rich Donbass region was just the start of this show, a template for how this is going to go. NATO can fool around all they want in Ukraine because they don't really care about Ukraine at all. They will use Ukraine, and Russia will never give up the Donbass. And America and Western powers will be weakened for spending billions of dollars in a fruitless provocation of Russia. Next to America's failures in Vietnam and Afghanistan, I believe it will go down as one of the biggest military mistakes in Western history. Here's a stupid idea. Let's get the NATO countries together. Let's install a puppet government in Ukraine in 2014, which is what...
That was the Maidan coup. People need to research that to understand the truth. That's when the war started.
Did. And then let's provoke Russia. Sounds like a great plan.
And I went into the secret RAND document where they purposely did this. Provoke Russia for years and years and years. And they wanted to get this war, to do the sanctions. They had this all planned ahead of time to destroy Europe's economy. This was planned by the deep state.
Morons, how'd that work out for you? We will be able to look at a calendar and pinpoint the moment when Western leaders created an energy crisis and an economic catastrophe that crippled Europe and by proxy America, all in an effort to somehow preserve the US dollar's role as the reserve currency of the world. It didn't work. Oh, and now Russia controls eastern Ukraine, which is filled with precious minerals. It was a failure. The main movie is about to start, though, so get your popcorn, because it's going to take place in the South China Sea around Taiwan. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. China will take control of Taiwan. This is inevitable. The People's Republic of China will retake the islands controlled by Taiwan, and there's simply nothing the United States and NATO will be able to do about it. Listen to Colonel Douglas McGregor.
And anywhere he is really knowledgeable. He was on the Durans. They interviewed him. Phenomenal. If you don't go to the Duran channel, that's Alex McCarris, the Gray mentioned, and Alexander. They do an excellent job, and follow them individually as well. But he is phenomenal. So highly recommend that wherever you can find him, follow him. His information is excellent.
Beijing will not allow Taiwan to become a garrison state for American armed forces or Japanese armed forces or any foreign power. And if they think that we are going to ally ourselves with Taiwan, if they think we are going to intervene to defend that island in the event of a dispute, then we will be at war with China for the reasons that I just outlined. And we are not prepared for that. We are grossly overstretched. We don't have the logistical infrastructure. And frankly, there's an old adage that everyone should remember. A ship's a fool to fight a fort. You have to fight China from the sea. We can't win that. China can absorb everything we throw at it. And the Chinese are happy to sit there, let us travel thousands of miles to reach them, and then sink us.
He's right. But the real war has already started. I promised you a stunning story that might make your jaw hit the floor, as it did for me. This week, we learned what the Biden administration just did to China because it's scared of what's coming. Now, Michael Burry, you might know him as the guy who...
This is the part to really pay attention to.
...accurately predicted the housing collapse in 2008. Christian Bale played him in the big movie, The Big Short. Now, he tweeted this week and said this: a critically important story not getting enough attention. And he pointed to Jordan Schneider's coverage of what the United States just did to China. So what is this critically important story? Well, here it is. Quote, lots of people don't know what happened yesterday. To put it simply, Biden has forced all Americans working in China to pick between quitting their jobs and losing American citizenship. Yeah. Losing American citizenship because they're working in China? Yeah, it gets worse. Every American executive and engineer working in China's semiconductor manufacturing industry resigned yesterday, paralyzing Chinese manufacturing overnight. Yeah, this just happened. One round of sanctions from Biden did more damage than all 4 years of performative sanctioning under Trump.
In Colorado, we work.
We'll get through the commercials here. Just mute. I don't care to hear this garbage. Sigh.
Sanctions, all American suppliers of IP blocks, components, and services departed overnight, thus cutting off all service to China. Long story short, every advanced node semiconductor company is currently facing comprehensive supply cutoffs, resignations from all American staff, and immediate operations paralysis. This is what annihilation looks like. China's semiconductor manufacturing industry was reduced to zero overnight. Complete collapse, no chance of survival, he writes. So what then? How does China respond? Will they just sit back? Of course not. So what island produces the largest amount of chips in the world? What island did Nancy Pelosi fly to recently to check on her investments with chip manufacturers? What island immediately restores China's chip dominance by being under China's full control?
What island does China ship sand to by the hundreds and thousands of tons?
This is what war with China
Sand to make chips.
looks like. That's why Russia and China have been stockpiling gold and silver and precious minerals, specifically for these component parts, but also to shore up their currencies. Zero Hedge reports that Putin has been building up his defenses against economic sanctions for years. It's almost looking like he knew this was coming.
И так называемые наднациональные элиты не стремились сохранить существующий порядок вещей. Наступает все-таки новая эпоха, новый этап в мировой истории. И только подлинно суверенные государства могут обеспечить высокую динамику роста.
So as the Western media started talking crap about Russia, Putin started stockpiling gold.
Yeah, and Xi has been doing it even longer. He's been stockpiling gold for decades.
Can I ask you a question here while we're talking about the gold?
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, but people are thinking because of all the gold that was actually found under the Vatican, all the way under the tunnels and stuff, that's going to be given back to the people worldwide. Is that a true statement?
I do not know how the Earth Alliance is going to run that. I would say first you need projects to rebuild this world.
Yeah.
Look at our streets in your country, whatever country you're in. The U.S. used to have beautiful highways and streets and bridges. Everything's falling apart.
The infrastructures, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to use that. So how Jassara plays out and Nassara plays out, the Alliance knows. I'm not privy.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So last week, Representative Alex Mooney of West Virginia quietly introduced a bill in Congress. It didn't get much attention, but what it did was to put the
7 October. Puts us. Yep. The dollar is affixed to define it a fixed weight of gold. Nassara.
Yeah.
U.S. dollar back on the gold standard. That was the bill before Congress. Yeah, there's a real concern among a handful of American politicians that the collapse is coming faster than expected. Just look at how the U.S. is handling the inflation problem right now. Biden's economic advisor, Cecilia Rouse, was asked this morning on television, when will the so-called Inflation Reduction Act start actually bringing down inflation? Here was her response.
You gotta listen to this. It was like, oh, it's totally insane. I mean, you listen to what they actually say.
I'm just curious, and a lot of Americans are curious, when the so-called Inflation Reduction Act will really start to bring down inflation.
So the many parts of the bill will start to take effect next year. For example, there are tax credits for energy.
You couldn't even start it. Let me get this story straight in my head because it makes no sense to me either.
energy to help people weatherize their homes and also bring down other forms of energy costs. So we are focused on helping to make that transition to clean energy in a way that brings down energy costs for families.
Oh, right. So those tax credits to help people weatherize their homes, which will kick in next year on your tax return, that's going to somehow reduce inflation right now? Gotcha. They think we're all stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cuckoos.
When does winter start?
This is
Isn't it like pretty soon? It's not next year.
Yeah.
You have the physical budget starts on April. The budget starts on April 16th when the year starts. The midterm starts, the next funding half is October 16th. You could have had this take action then. We need to weatherize our homes now. Why wait till April 16th in the next tax rounds? That helps nothing. 6 months from now?
What's that got to do with the price of beans going up? Or wait,
Yeah.
that would
They think we're stupid. They're not that stupid. We know what the truth is. You're playing us. That's the truth of it. So let me see. I gotta pull up my document again. Sorry, I moved it. Let me bring it back over here. So China has been preparing for this for the past year.
I kind of had a feeling.
And actually for decades.
So, okay, I just want to clarify this. We've always thought that the CCP was part of China's, but CCP is kind of like the deep state of the United States, just to clarify that for people.
It's the deep state, China's deep state. Xi's not part of it. He has to play it big time. Otherwise, they just kill him. So China's been preparing for the past 2 months by taking private corporations into full military emergency equipment production. Oh, getting ready for something, huh? The military is getting ready for the invasion of Taiwan. Biden's immediate order for all Americans' passport and citizenship cancellation collapsed the China microchip companies. There's hundreds of thousands of Americans left during a 24-hour window. These important Americans ran the microchip factories and were funded by U.S. investors. What do you think that's going to do to inflation in this country?
Oh my gosh.
US investors, everything in China came to a halt on their microchip industry. That's their biggest thing. Now the Chinese CCP are running operations with several emergency exercises currently taking place in the South China Sea. It's not very far from mainland China to Formosa, the islands of Formosa and Taiwan. China and Russia are dividing U.S. and its allies. It is very likely that Turkey will also leave NATO and back Russia. Like I said, Russia and Turkey met at the conference they just finished having and saying they're going to make Turkey, all the gas that went through Nord Stream will go through the Turk Stream, and they'll be the hub, oh my goodness, for oil. India joined the security of the Russian-Chinese BRICS system and expected to be neutral in that invasion. Taiwan is the deep state's cabal's last bastion for human and child trafficking, as well as money laundering. And the dumbs there haven't been hit yet. The alliance can't get in there until this is resolved. That's why Xi's got to get this cleaned. The complete switch of the Saudi leaders happened first. Now the Ukraine is done. The tunnels are mostly all gone and all of that stuff. Putin said, one of the generals said, we're not leaving Chernobyl till all the children are rescued. What kind of comment is that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the truth. Next, now Taiwan. The deep state funnels all of its Asian evil deeds through Taiwan. China's taking control of the largest microchip producer in the world by taking Taiwan if they do that. The four new states of Ukraine, like he said, are some of the most mineral-rich lands on Earth. Imagine the industrial might of BRICS the massive manpower and technical expertise of running computer systems that Indians have in India. These are once in Russian's hands. Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan. They're already gone. Russia's gone to Afghanistan in that meeting and said, we will rebuild your country because the NATO threw you to the wolves. And their people are selling everything they own on the street, literally, to try to survive now. And so they're going in and rebuilding Afghanistan. Several other countries will sign exclusive rights with China and Russia and head into their new monetary go-back system. So we're seeing a fair world order coming into being, what is really happening. So let me share some more information about what's really, really happening there. So we watched that one already. So these missile strikes are very, very precise. They bombed the bridge, okay? And it's a laughing stock. The clowns in America and the MI6 are a laughing stock of the world and security agencies. A car bomb, not divers going in and putting stuff. And then they tried to cover why they couldn't do with divers. He did a clown world that's hilarious. Alex does clown worlds at the end of his video. It was dun, 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 dun. Just when you thought it's safe to go back in the water, Jaws 1 and 2 are gone. Dun-ah! It's killer dolphins. These dolphins are like whole battalions of them, right? That's what they're saying. And then what do? Dress in fatigues. You can't see them coming in blue and green and white. And they even sit up and salute, right? It's like they were protecting the bridge. That's why they couldn't get in there. So now here's what's, their take 40% is what's left currently as of yesterday of the power grid in Ukraine. They hit every single SBU building in Ukraine. That's like the clowns in America or the FBI.
Yeah.
So this is the church that Lazarus.
Oh, sorry, wrong video. I don't want to miss that one. I'll play for that for you later. Let me see. I'm a little out of order here. I think this is it. Yeah. I think this is the one.
Let's do this story. This is a weird one. this is so bizarre.
First off, yeah, this is a clown world, but this is important to understand how ridiculous the lies are getting. Here's what the Ukrainians are being told for their history now.
So you know that United 24 group that I talked about them about 2 weeks ago, and it's like this charity that was set up, another NGO that was set up, but this time it was set up to benefit Ukraine, and it's just kind of like a platform where people can donate to help Ukraine, and kind of like a GoFundMe, an Zelensky GoFundMe, and people can even donate Bitcoin and crypto, and they've raised something like 100 million in crypto already. But people can go on there and they can buy, the Ukraine military. They can buy them drones or equipment or boots, winter clothing, whatever. And this platform was set up, most likely by the collective Western NATO, in order to keep the grift going, let's say. And so, like I said, 100 million in crypto, not bad. And no one really knows where that crypto went. That's for sure.
And speaking of keeping the grift going, the big slush fund the NATO had when countries send all their hardware from Soviet era, all this old stuff over, they were getting paid in full as if it's new.
Mm.
Now Poland sent a huge bill. I think it was like 3.8 billion euros. And the NATO said, we can't pay you. The fund is running out. Who do you think of most of that money is going to when they send that old hardware and they get paid as if it's new? And so the new stuff is almost all gone too. And so they've been paying this, and it's running out, because that goes into line the pockets of the big people, run the governments, van der Leyen, etc. I'm just saying, why do you think they're so behind it? I wonder why.
Yeah.
So these guys, United 24, they came out with a video and they posted it on Twitter. And this video made the claim that it was in 988 when Prince Volodymyr decided to convert to Christianity. The Kievan Rus, he decided to convert to Christianity. And it was at that very moment that Ukraine, or what was going to become Ukraine 1,000 years later, that this land was made the decision to enter the European Union. And they put out a whole video for this. And it is just, it's so laughable. It left me kind of speechless as I was watching this video. And the best part about it was that the Ministry of Defense for Ukraine actually put out a tweet.
That's like Lord of the Rings, you shall not pass. It's like a little poop with Steve coming up. It's like some kind of comic book.
Supporting this claim from United 24, the foreign ministry of Ukraine, they put out a tweet supporting this United 24 video, and they said, hashtag Ukraine and Europe were always friends. In 988, Prince Volodymyr converted Kiev Rus to Christianity and decided we need to join the EU.
In 988? Wow, he is really far-sighted. He's some kind of amazing prophet.
We stand for this idea today and defend Europe from Russian cruelty. In 988, Prince Volodymyr decided that Ukraine should join the European Union in 988 because Ukraine became Christian. Well, he actually decided to make Russia Orthodox. That's the real story. So I love how they just kind of whitewash Orthodoxy, and they just kind of, throw the word Christianity in there because they don't want to say Orthodoxy. Because if they say Orthodoxy, if they say that Prince Volodymyr decided to become Orthodox, then that would have led people to believe Orthodoxy. Well, Orthodoxy is associated with Russia. So what's going on here? Even though Ukraine is also an Orthodox country, it also has a lot of Orthodox believers, but you can see how clever they are. They don't want to say Orthodox, they want to say Christianity, right?
Yep.
And I love how they say that Christianity is what makes them European when EU officials denounce Christianity. I mean, it's so bizarre. But 988, so that's when Ukraine decided to enter the EU in 988. And 1,000 years later, and the EU still hasn't let Ukraine in. It's been 1,000 years. I thought Turkey had the record at like 30 years waiting to get into the European Union. It looks like Ukraine has Turkey beat. Turkey's been waiting 30, 40 years. Well, Ukraine has been waiting 1,000 years to enter the European Union, going all the way back to 988. Oh, boy. Just crazy stuff, man. Just crazy stuff.
So, I mean, who believes this garbage? I mean, people are really believing this? It's like, you got to be kidding me. How in the world could you actually believe this garbage? It's like,
well, some of the stuff that I'm hearing about this whole Twitter thing is nothing but bots. It's acting like people. So the stupidity of whoever's creating these bots, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, I mean, what's going on is absolutely ridiculous. So now Russia and China are dividing it up with what's coming in Taiwan. It is definitely coming.
Yeah, I know that the last time that you were on the show here, you kind of had an inkling that they were going to come there, but like I said, everything is a process, right? And now you're explaining why, and how long, and we're up to date on real information, not bull.
Exactly. And he did an expose. I watched Alex there yesterday, Do you really think all these countries would be siding with Russia and China
Mm-hmm.
if
Right.
they thought it's Russia's last hurrah? No. And the Saudis especially. That's really massive.
You still have a lot of the mainstream media and radio stations out there taking collections and funds for people of Ukraine.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that is ever going to be severed.
Well, it's a cash cow.
Okay.
The elite's got a cash cow. Zelensky's got 5 luxury mansions, one in Florida, one in the French Riviera. I mean, a lot of people have made billions off of Ukraine. 80% of the monies that goes there doesn't go to Ukrainians at all.
No.
Much of the weaponry that goes there is showing up on the black market of weapons market through the big weapons dealers being auctioned off on the dark web. So even the hospital supplies, and the hospitals are of course packed with the Ukrainian people that have been injured. I say people because as of October 1st, they've been inscripting women. Those women are already trained now and in the front. There's women as of October 1st in the front in Ukraine fighting in the eastern Ukraine area up by the Dnieper. So it's people.
Yeah.
So it's like the West it's been said now, and it's pretty obviously true. They want to fight this for 20, 30 years to the very last Ukrainian, and they want to get NATO involved. That's why they go nuke, 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 nuke. Putin's going to nuke, nuke, nuke. No, he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's not going to use tacticals or any other kind. Look at their laws. Look, France, even Macron said, if that happens, we're not going to. They're the nuclear power in Europe, in the EU, and they said, no, we're not going to do that. Our law state, we can't do that.
So that's the mainstream media bringing out all that nuke, because I mean, it's even in the truther community, people are believing it.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Like Putin said, no one wins that one. No one wins that. Who would do that? Nobody. But that's the cabal. They want it to happen. They want to go and hide in what dumps they got left in the deep tunnels and stuff and try to escape off world. Like that's been working very well for you. Not at all. Nothing gets through the net they got up there now. Nothing gets through. They don't want to get through. It's like, the Earth Alliance isn't letting anything through anymore. Good luck with that. It's not going to happen. And I said, I don't usually mean that. I use fortune. They believe in luck. I believe in fortune. That means you're tuned for God. Luck means you're aligned with Lucifer.
Right. So what did you say that is not letting anybody in or out?
The Earth Alliance, the secret space programs.
Yeah.
Or Warden, specifically Radiant Guardian, which takes care of from the asteroid belt into the sun. Everything from the asteroid belt to the center of the sun, they take care of. That means the Stargate in the sun too. Anything coming out of that doesn't make it unless they check and make sure whose side you're on. And you're allowed to turn around and go back. If you don't, you're done. They got battle planets out there. What are you going to get through?
Yeah.
Planet-sized ships. You're not getting anything through.
All right. Well, how much of your presentation do you have? I have about maybe
not much longer. Almost there. Let's go ahead and roll then.
Okay.
Against the backdrop of a rapidly growing energy crisis and a weakening economy in the European Union and the United States, China and Russia continue to present unpleasant surprises to Western countries. So, it became known that Beijing banned Chinese companies from selling LNG to the European Union. In China, this decision was explained by the fact that the country itself would allegedly need a large amount of gas during the winter period, and therefore, all gas reserves that were intended for export would be used to support Chinese enterprises within the country. This Chinese decision dealt another crushing blow to the rapidly weakening EU economy. European Union, after declaring economic war on Russia, began the continuous printing of European currency to buy gas from wherever possible. As we can see, this tactic didn't bring the expected results for the EU authorities. As a result of ill-conceived actions, the European currency has significantly weakened, and inflation in the Eurozone is hitting new record levels. China's recent decision has caused another fluctuation in gas prices, which are already very high. Gas quotes have already jumped by 5.3%. It is predicted that within 2 months, the price of gas may reach $3,000 per 1,000 cubic meters, which will finally plunge the EU into the Middle Ages. It is also worth mentioning another crushing blow to the EU from Russia. We are talking about the creation of the largest gas hub in Turkey. Now Russia will store its gas destined for Europe in Turkey. And it is Russia and Turkey who will decide at what price and to which European countries to sell gas. This decision by Moscow will not only bring huge profits to Russia, but will also strengthen the Turkish economy, making Turkey a very influential country in Europe over time, while eclipsing Germany. Turkey is very well aware of the importance of this project. And knowing what Western countries are capable of in a fit of despair, President Erdogan declared that Turkey will make every effort to protect the gas pipeline through which Russian gas will flow. At the moment, the current German authorities are in despair, seeing how Germany is rapidly losing its economic power. Well, I would like to say only one thing. German authorities themselves are to blame for everything. Let me remind you that the reason for the formation of the so-called economic power of Germany is quite simple. Germany, taking advantage of access to inexpensive Russian resources, specifically bought only raw materials and ignored high-tech goods from Russia, so as not to stimulate the development of Russian industry and take all the profits for itself. In addition to gas, Germany also received an additional inflow of funds through the sale of processed German goods to Russia. Thus, the German industry received stable development due to such cooperation. As a result, within a few decades, Germany became the richest and most influential country in Europe. But now, the situation has radically changed. The new German authorities decided to literally cut off the hand that fed them steadily. Without thinking about the consequences and not realizing the great dependence of the German economy on Russian energy resources, the German authorities regularly increased the intensity of the sanctions war against Moscow, thereby trying to get praise from Washington. Germany practically lost Russian gas, and German enterprises began to rapidly go bankrupt. The markets of Germany and the entire EU began to be filled with expensive and low-quality American LNG, which aggravated the situation in Europe even worse.
And cost 10 times as much to get it all the way across the Atlantic. And so Germany, this is on purpose. The deep state is doing this to Germany and Russia on purpose. This person doesn't know that. I do. So that is the case of what's going on. And now I literally think that what we're seeing is the hand of God moving, because the truth is coming out.
Yeah.
Like what during a recent speech, 22nd of September, this is a Freudian slip? I don't think so.
Thanks also, of course, to the inspirational leadership of Vladimir Putin, the inspirational leadership of Volodymyr Zelensky. Forgive me.
Yeah. The inspirational leadership of Vladimir Putin. Yeah. And this one even more is absolutely mind-boggling how this came out. How did two people speaking halfway around the world have their speeches line up so precisely for a technical glitch to make this occur?
Stoltenberg, when he was giving his statement about Russia's annexation of these 4 regions, he was giving his speech, we'll never recognize the referenda, we'll never recognize these 4 regions, Putin is a dictator, Putin is evil, blah, blah, blah. As he was saying this, on Deutsche Welle, they were broadcasting his speech, Stoltenberg. And as he was speaking, Deutsche Welle, they say it was a technical glitch, right? Technical difficulties. But they cut over to Putin speaking to Russians at Red Square. From what I understand, something like 100,000, maybe even 180,000, I think I read.
After he made all this, I checked, and what I've seen, it was 200,000.
Russians flooded to the Red Square area, which is huge. And they listened to music, they celebrated, and Putin gave a speech. And as Putin was speaking, Deutsche Welle cut to Putin, and they interrupted Stoltenberg. And they say it was a technical glitch, it was by accident. But I want to get to the part of the speech that they actually cut into. 180,000 people took part in a rally concert, People's Choice, on Red Square. 180,000 people. Wow. Let me get to, to the part where they cut Stoltenberg off.
Have you heard of Executive Order 1?
So Stoltenberg was saying the illegal annexation of Ukraine territories does not change the nature of this war. And then it cuts away to Vladimir Putin. It was Russia that created modern Ukraine by transferring significant territories there. The Deutsche...
How smooth is that? Illegal annexation of Ukrainian territories does not change the nature. Yeah, the nature is it was Russia that created modern Ukraine. I'm like, that's halfway around the world.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Live, both of them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's impressive.
The announcer said, apparently a technical problems. Very, very strange technical problems indeed.
Победа! Победа будет за нами! Именно Россия создала современную Украину, передав туда значительные территории.
And there might be a technical problem there.
Technical problem there. Yeah, technical hand of God interfered. That's what your technical problem is.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, stunning, absolutely stunning. It just boggles my mind. You know, their lies just don't end. They just can't stop. They can't stop themselves. I can't tell the truth. It's impossible for me. It's just like this. You know, we have this CrossFit and fitness instructor and all of this who put this out about the jab. And now he said, you know, if I did my research and if it's good, I'll be fine. And if it's not and I die, then you know, don't do it. Yeah, I knew that without having to die for it. And now he's passed.
Yeah.
So, yep. So it's all coming to light and coming to the truth of everything. Everything that they did is fake. Everything they do, everything they say is absolutely fake. It's all fake. So I wanted to close with this. It's so beautiful. If you have time.
Yeah. 5 more
Okay.
minutes.
Yep. Story of Lazarus. It takes just about that.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I think I got to everything. Let's do 2 clown worlds. How about we do 2 clown worlds? So this is the church that...
So because he's here, he's not going to do his clown world first. He's going to do this, the story of Lazarus.
That Lazarus was and is buried. This is his final resting place. Lazarus...
Can you turn it up a little bit, Gene?
Was risen from the dead. He was it was in, I believe, Bethany, where he first died, and he was in a tomb for 4 days. And Jesus, while he was in Bethany, he raised Lazarus. He stood outside the tomb and he said, "Lazarus, come out." And Lazarus, he came out, and he rose, and that was actually a turning point. That was a very, very big turning point with regards to how the Pharisees and the authorities saw Jesus. It was a miracle too far for them. You know, Jesus had crossed for them a red line, and Lazarus became a wanted man because they couldn't have someone who had risen from the dead. They couldn't have him, you know, hanging around. So Lazarus had to flee. And where did he come? He came to Cyprus, to Larnaca. And he lived here for 30 years and eventually died right here. And This is where the tomb is. You can actually go down the stairs and actually see the tomb as well. So let's walk through. I'll just do a quick walk through and we'll go to the other side. We'll just walk right through. Okay. So I've done videos from here.
So there you go.
That's fantastic. Look how those buildings were constructed so many years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And well, thank you so much, Jean. That was a beautiful presentation. Lots of good information, accurate facts and data is what we're always looking for. Keeps us grounded, and lets us know. It's letting me know at least, and I don't know how the audience will feel about this, but every day we're getting closer and closer. Even with bringing it back to America here, where you're saying that there was somebody was it the Congress that wants to back the financial system with gold?
Yep, that's coming.
So that is coming. So we're going to need more and more of those people, to start voting for this and to make it happen.
Absolutely. And, I do see the hand of God moving. So I close with the story of Lazarus, because miracles do happen through the power of God. And I think that speech being switched is one. And then Boris Johnson, that's another. And the truth will come out about all of this stuff. And we'll see a massive miracle of all of this. A fair world order, as Alex says often, coming, and end of this deep state forever. And this horrific, incredible evil that's done to our children for thousands of years in the name of their false god, whatever the 72 names you want to go by, Moloch, Baal, Lucifer, whatever. That's why the pyramid on the dollar bill has 72 stones, is for the 72 names. So that's coming to an end. We're in an amazing time to be alive, albeit when you bring this down, it's a hard time. There's hard times, and that's why it's important to get your connection, like you said, Janine, to Father God and Jesus Christ, Holy Trinity, and to stay solid, and to know that way, even if you don't physically make it, you make it. You're good to go. And so just say, God bless everybody. Love you all. Godspeed. Be solid and know that God has our back, and the alliance is in operation, and you can see it now starting to come out. Just pretty soon, only it's like the board used to say, the 16+1 board used to say, 3 to 8%. You can't wake them up. You could hit them up the side of the head with a brick. That wasn't a brick. That was a feather.
I am so honored to do another show with you, and how you bring the information in. I feel very blessed to know that I'm going through this journey with someone like you, Jean. Each and every time we do this, I feel very much in peace with you. Your energy calms my energy. You bring a lot of this love and kindness and blessings to all of us every time we get to hear your voice and hear your words and your facts and your data that you bring us in. I just want to say, God bless you. Thank you, Janine. God bless you and your family and your puppies. And so, thanks for allowing me to be on your platform again. Oh, you're more than welcome. And I sure hope that we hear back from you sooner than later. And when it all does happen, like you said, Jean, it's going to get tough. but I think we've all prepared ourselves for this. And if you haven't, just think in terms of just being prepared, like for any other storm, no matter what kind of storm it is, no matter what part of the world that you're in, and just know that you are you will be taken care of.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jean, so much. Love you, and I'll see you real soon.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, and blessings to you and your family.
You too. God bless.
God bless. Bye.